Yeah, my name's Steve Gessling. I'm a data analyst at NWEA. Make a lot of Power BI reports, and I was going to do a feature kind of walkthrough, like year in review of everything that we got this year, just because there were so many things, and I thought it would be good to, just kind of remember everything, take a step back, and look at everything we got this year. And as I was going through it, I was kind of thinking, there's no way I'm going to get through even half as many things that got released or that became available. So I started thinking, which features give me the most value on a day-to-day basis. So again, I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but I just wanted to focus on some of the key usability features that were released in the last year. I worked with some other tools too, like SSIS and Ssrs. Does anyone have any experience with those? Yeah. So I feel like sometimes when you're building with those tools, some of the usability isn't that great when you have to, set up a lot of different custom things all the time. Sometimes you have to know how to do things a certain way. And then as you're redoing those same tasks over and over and over again, sometimes it can build up a little frustration. So I just wanted to focus on some of the features that make using Power BI so much easier on a day-to-day basis. Specifically in my role, we're still not fully advanced with everyone being able to use Power BI, and as a result, I have to create a lot of things on my own. So I'm constantly, prototyping, creating new files, creating new pages for all kinds of different things. And so I find myself doing these same tasks, over and over and over again. So any amount of time I can get to save myself creating new things is going to be really valuable. So with that, these are the features I was going to walk through today. Show and hide pages, bookmarking, buttons, some improvements to the formatting pane, the visual header, the ability to copy and paste, the Power BI home, recently the DAX editor improvements, being able to search and filter cards, the new DAX guide that was published by the Italians, and the Power BI Enterprise Deployment White Paper. So yeah, not the most advanced features, but I think all of them kind of hold up on their own to be pretty valuable over time. So with that, I figure I'm just going to walk through a few of these features, demo some of them, and just kind of speak to how helpful they are in terms of what you had to do in terms of workarounds before we had these features and stuff. So.
And we appreciate you using Power BI instead of PowerPoint. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
We've been seeing that happen more often. And, yeah.
Yeah. Part of that was obviously. Got to show the love to Power BI. Also, maybe a bit of laziness, but yeah, let's go with the former. So can anyone actually name a feature that got released in January? Anybody remember that release?
I don't think I can remember anything from January.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a good point. So I think that's a good reinforcement for my topic. So I think this was released in January, was show and hide pages. So it's kind of easy to take for granted now, but I mean, before that we didn't have the ability to do that. So before I dive into that, I'm just going to work with some super simple data here from footballreference.com. Got some Ncaa football punting data. Any football fans out here? Yeah. Great. So as you can see here, good old Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, has a whole bunch of punts this year. That's not really important, but this is just a pretty simple data set. We've got our punter, their school, conference, how many games they've played in this season, how many punts, how many total yards, and how long their average yards per punt. So let's say I wanted to kind of explore this a bit more. I've already got an existing report that's pretty nice about people looking at it, but I want to kind of do some more exploratory analysis and maybe demo some new features or a new calculation, but it's not quite ready yet. It's not ready to for other people to look at. So let's say yeah, I spun up this page, you know, and all right, so it's looking pretty good. Not really sure what's going on here. It's not that important or insightful, but you know, I can just go ahead and hide this page. I can publish it up, and no one's going to be the wiser. They're not going to see it. So I feel like this was really helpful for me as I'm developing and iterating on new pages, because you can just hide something and still have your same file. I think before this, what I would do is just essentially save as and create a whole new file, you know, so you could work on other stuff in the background, and then you would kind of have to redo the whole thing and then integrate it into your existing report. So did anyone else have similar experiences before that, right? It was a little cumbersome.
Sometimes I put a giant white rectangle in front of the entire page.
Yeah. So that's one way to do it, yeah. So you had to get pretty creative, you know, with what you were doing. But with the show and hide pages, it's such a small, simple thing, easy to take for granted. But I think it really helps. It really helps your development practice over time. And now I use it all the time. Whenever I'm creating a new page, I don't want to show up yet. You know, just hide it, and then
So just a quick comment on that. So that's a good practice. What we discovered in our experience is when you publish it to the web, to the service, and the client decides to save it as into SharePoint, those pages stay. So they have to delete it manually. So if you don't want anything your client to see, even though you've hidden the page, you know, just kind of be aware of that. PowerPoint, yeah.
You mean save as
Yeah,
PBIX?
save it as PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Oh, it's
PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's true.
Then that tab will be there.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did not know that. So that's a whole new use case. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for
He
sharing.
used to sleep well at night.
I like the idea of using.
You're still employed, right?
I like the
For
idea
now.
of using hidden pages for documentation. You know, of
Yeah.
what's been changed in it, and or how particular formulas, the intention of the formula, if it's, and stuff like that. It's just, otherwise, there's not a whole lot of places in the PBIX file to really have that information for the developer to reference when they're working on the file.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I've also used it for drills where they
Yeah.
don't make sense unless you drill.
Yep.
Drill.
Great. Yeah, so it sounds like everybody's, you know, really taking advantage of the new feature, and yeah, I even learned something now just saying that, so that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so super simple one, but yeah, that was all the way back in January, so we've had that for a whole year, so excited to see what the next layer to that will be. The next one, feature I'm going to jump into is just bookmarking. So I think we've had a lot of demos where people have used them. They've created reports, you know, where they're exclusively using bookmarks. So I'm sure most people are familiar with it. But I think it became a preview feature in October 2017, which is after they demoed it last year at the Data Insights Summit. So it finally became generally available. And as a result, it just created this whole new layer of interactivity with the reports. I found that, like I said, we're still kind of rolling it out and getting people comfortable with Power BI, that they're still not totally comfortable with the architecture and kind of the way you traverse the reports. So, I mean, it's trivial for us, but even just being able to navigate only through these little report pages here, there's just kind of like one singular way to go through your report. So now with bookmarks, you know, you can kind of curate the experience a bit more and really kind of jazz up your storytelling experience. And so, I mean, I just did a simple one here where you can just, you know, go back to the main page here. But it's so much nicer. I mean, if you get lost, you know, in anything, you can just go to different pages or highlight different things super easily, and it's really easy to set up too.
So one thing with bookmarks as well, I ran into a question on, okay, how can I get a clear all filters or slicers?
Oh, yeah.
And using your bookmark to do that is a really great way to
That's one
go
of the
about
things
it.
that I've been doing. We've been doing a home page that has a lot of filters on it. And I've been setting a reset button on it, and then all the additional pages been putting a home icon that takes them back to that without resetting it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many uses, I think, for bookmarks, and especially for reports that are just slicer heavy, and you can get lost in sauce, basically. Use the bookmarks to your advantage.
Does anybody else have the experience, so when you set up a bookmark and then you want to change it in some way, you know, eventually you just have to delete it and recreate it, right? It just, it misbehaves in ways that I just
You
can't.
have to spend a lot of time with selection panes up and
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of stuff to get them reset right if you go make changes after the fact.
Yeah, and I
They're not
don't
where
know
you
if
should
anybody
start.
else experiences it, but frequently, for reasons unidentifiable to me anyway, no matter what I try to do to just change a characteristic of that bookmark, it won't stick, right? And so, all right, delete it and just recreate it. It's like
I thought it was
much
just me, Ron.
faster. What's that?
I thought it was just me.
I was just dealing with that today.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the other thing too, is that there's only so many things that the bookmark can interact with, right? Whether it's like what page you're going to or certain slicers or controllers or something. So I'm sure next year it's going to be, they'll do something that'll just be totally, you know, blow our mind again. I remember when this got introduced and everyone was kind of, you know, going crazy, so.
How did you get this data?
Oh, this one, got my source right here, just
Punting leaders and then stuff.
Yeah. Sportsreference.com. Anybody, any stat heads here like checking that out? Yeah.
Any sports fanatics?
Just a punting fanatic.
Just punting fanatic. Yeah. I didn't know that.
But yeah, just I'll plug that. Yeah, so you can just get all kinds of data from there. I don't know if they have an API because I think they just kind of like it all being there. But yeah, I just downloaded this from CSV, and you get any sports data you want. I think going back, you know, tons of years, they've got a lot of really interesting data for all kinds of sports: football, basketball, soccer, hockey. So yeah, it's a good free, public, open data set for all kinds of projects. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, bookmarks. There they are. And that kind of touches on the next feature we're going to check out, which is just buttons being generally available. It seems like they're kind of tied to the hip with bookmarks in most of the use cases, but you can do a lot of other stuff with them too, whether, you know, there's all kind of different ones you can do here. You can configure how you hover over them and stuff. So again, it's just really adding to another layer of interactivity of what you can do besides just clicking on your basic graphs and slicers. Now we've got buttons that can control all kinds of different stuff. So I'm sure that's setting like a nice foundation for all kinds of, you know, other links or other kind of actions that are gonna show up in the future. I don't think I really have anything else for buttons, unfortunately. Oops. Next one I wanted to talk about is the formatting pane improvements. This one I really like because, let me just hover in on one of these here. Because like I said, we're creating tons and tons of reports, and especially within each report, every little component has to be, you know, kind of configured exactly the way you want it. And so with all these different options, and then as you're filling up your page, you know, with, you know, several different visuals, you're going to be using this thing a lot. So it should probably be pretty easy to use and nice to use. Otherwise, it's just going to be really frustrating and, you know, kind of maybe a little intimidating for people that are starting out. So I don't know exactly what they did. I could look up what it was, but I think before it was a little more clunky in terms of navigating these different sections. But now it's like, it's hard to compare, but if you saw it before they did this change, this is a lot nicer because there's really nice spacing here. It's evenly set up. You know, it clicks and opens really nicely. They added this little drop-down caret thing so you know what's open. It's really easy to navigate through. A lot of them are the same. So it's a small thing, but I think at the end of the day, it's really nice because, like I said, you're going to be messing with this stuff constantly. So I know at least in what is it, SSIS and SSRS, some of these are not as fun and nice to play with, and sometimes you can kind of, you know, drive yourself a little crazy just trying to get the one thing you want to work. So yeah, I think that that's a really nice feature that I like, with just a small improvement. But
I like the addition to the search. And
Yes.
that was introduced
There's a
this year.
search.
You know, just to be able to type in a particular attribute name and filter
Yeah.
it rather than trying to scroll down and try to find it.
yeah,
In the fields pane?
Yeah, on the properties, on
Go to the
the,
properties again, let's see these.
yeah,
So
so
go
you
to
click on it, so go to the paintbrush. And
Oh,
you
nice.
can just
Yeah.
type the
Text or-
attribute that you're
yeah.
wanting to change, and it just filters the whole list. So I'm a big guy on hitting the Windows key and just typing what I want instead of trying to hunt the menu. This is
Oh,
kind of
nice.
a
I've never
similar
even
type
used that.
thing. Yeah, so if you're always trying to control very specific attributes of it, you can find it really quickly that way.
Like maybe color.
Yeah, color is a big one.
Yeah, and on the same paintbrush, I
Oh,
feel like they
nice.
could benefit from a little bit more consistent design between the visuals, because sometimes there's a general section at the top on one visual, and then there's a general section at the bottom. So it's
Bottom,
like,
yeah.
you're trying to align everything, you just want to quickly tap through. Like, oh, that's a different visual, I got it at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I just feel like they sometimes, and it's not just in these, I feel like the overall design needs to be centrally controlled
Mhm.
in Power BI.
definitely. Yeah.
Have you noticed the fun bug where when you go to change the title of something,
Yes.
default,
Oh my
you
goodness,
start
it kills
typing,
me.
It's fixed
Yeah,
now.
and it actually moves its position in the
Yes.
paint roller dialog. It jumps up and it's like, oh, you were fixing the title. I'm sorry.
It's fixed in the October release.
Is it?
Yeah, I thought I was the only one having that. But
No.
Well, related to titles though, and back to bookmarks, you guys have all figured out that if you give something a title, even if you don't want the title to show, turn the title off. Once it has a title, now your bookmark has a label on it. It makes it.
Yeah, in the selection pane, you can tell which one it is.
Yes.
It's not just object or,
Yeah.
line or, yes.
Did not know that. And I have also been experiencing that lovely title bug,
Oh, yeah.
and so I'm glad it's not just me, that I'm not
No.
alone, and everyone else was in that struggle
You're not alone
as
in your
well.
suffering.
Yes.
On the topic of formatting, you can also use, if you're trying to carry the same formatting from one visual to the next, if people don't know, Format Painter will do that as well. So if you set one, you can copy it over. It won't, unlike most of the Office products where you can double click Format Painter and stick, you have to
Yep.
do it one by one, but it's still there. So if you're
Oh,
trying
nice.
to get a consistent look, like say for your color scheme, it will copy that as much as it can across the different visuals.
And it's gotten a lot
Saves
better
time.
than it used to be.
It has.
Yeah. Another fun trick, did you guys know that if you control click multiple visuals of the same type, you can set the properties for all of them at once?
Ooh,
You
did
save
not-
yourself a lot of time that way.
You still can't lasso them, but you can use control and.
What's that?
I think you can use control and select them one by one. You can't
Yeah,
like
it can't lasso them, yeah.
Yeah.
They're adding
It doesn't
the
work
lasso.
if you use
That would
different
be
types.
nice.
They're adding it,
Set
yeah.
type.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
In the October release?
Nice.
I don't, no, it's in future release.
Oh, future, okay. It's on the road, yeah.
Yeah, the control click is great. I definitely use that a lot. And yeah, maybe all that like kind of consistent formatting, definitely redoing every single visual every time. At least this pane helps. But yeah, that's definitely an opportunity that maybe they're trying to address with some of the more advanced theming stuff. Just I feel like that would save a lot of time if you didn't have to go through to every single visual. That can definitely be annoying. So yeah, let's see what we got next here. Visual header. Yep. I'm sure everyone has seen that one for a while. It used to be, when you click on every little visual, it'd have this extra little bar at the top. That was so annoying because, like we said, you're trying to cram as much stuff as you can into just this little real estate. And so when every single thing has that little, couple centimeters there, that was so infuriating and, just frustrating. So I think they fixed that, and now it's more, I think it's more adaptive too. So depending where it's at, it might go up and down, right? Yeah, so now it's gonna drop down to the bottom here, and I can just squish this all the way up to the top right here and get as much real estate as possible. And I just remember when that came out, well, not when it came out, but just when it was, as it was, with that header, it just was always really weird and kind of frustrating. So that's gone, and again, it's a super simple thing that you're kind of like, well, why was that even a thing? But now that it's not there, you just realize how much better it is. And yeah, just a lot better. So again, super small thing, but I think it's awesome and just a lot easier. So copy and paste is the next thing I wanted to talk about. I work with a lot of APIs as well, so I'm like integrating a lot of data from SSIS to a database and then connecting to it in Power BI. So one use case for this that I'm doing a lot is I'll have to like make sure all my transforms and stuff are matching up with a record in another system. So it's nice to be able to just copy an ID out of a table or something and search for it in the original tool. That's maybe like a specific case to me, but before I'd have to jump back and forth between different screens and type something in. Sure enough, something would be wrong, and you'd kind of be guessing, oh, am I looking at the right thing or what's going on here? So the copy and paste, it's so much nicer that you can just select anything you want. Say this punter, and then I can just paste it anywhere I want. Let's see if this works. So let's look at Rutgers punter here. Yeah, got videos, got all kinds of stuff here. Opens all kind of different stuff. So that was a super small thing, but I mean, in terms of sharing stuff, I think before this, what you have to do, you'd have to export your whole little thing and then grab it out of a CSV or Excel, and that can be kind of frustrating. So the copy and paste, super small thing, but at least for me, I feel like it's really helpful. And again, yeah, now that we have it, you're kind of like, well, how did we live without it before? So.
Can you copy more than one item? One.
Good question.
If you expand the copy arrow there, you can get a whole selection or just a single cell.
But you couldn't take like two of them, right?
I'm not sure if
Control.
to the control would work.
Maybe.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Cool.
Does that work?
Let's see here.
Paste it in text. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
There
looks
you
like you can
go.
grab a couple there.
Even grab a tab across.
Yeah, so looks like you can grab that, throw it in Excel or something, do something else, whatever you want to do. Yeah, so that's really nice, yeah, because I mean, it just gives you more access to things, and I think you can do that in the service too. So if you want to just grab something and check it out real quick, so much easier than exporting and doing that. The next thing, I think this was pretty recent, the Power BI Home and Global Search. Not logged in here.
Still in preview.
Yes, so that's still in preview, but Greg, can I pull yours up?
Absolutely.
Cool. Seems promising.
What's your Twitter handle again, Steven?
Good question. Don't remember right now. So so this is the new home screen. I feel like it's a lot bigger improvement than before, where I think the landing page was just your set dashboard or something.
Your favorites or something.
Yeah, favorites, something like that. It was somewhat configurable, but now you get access to so much more stuff. You can see a bunch of different, what are these, apps or something? Apps and reports here, your recents, which is so helpful. So much better than clicking over here, and then that's a whole extra like 2 or 3 clicks. I mean, after, like I said, these little things kind of add up. So if I can just constantly go back and see the things I'm looking at super easily at a glance, it's so much easier and better. And I think, oh yeah, and they also got training here right down the bottom. So if you're maybe new to Power BI, slightly confused or something, at least that would point in the right direction. And I think this way of navigating is so much better than this tab here, which I really don't like. I feel like it's kind of annoying, because you have to pop this open. It takes up more real estate on the screen. But with here, I can just see everything super easily in kind of a more folder-like structure. I think what you can do too is set a featured dashboard or something up in the top, and it'll pick your most viewed tiles there too.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, because the ones that I see, I can't, it's selected ones that I don't really want up there, but at this point I don't have the ability to get rid of them.
Yeah, I have the same thing happen to me. So
It's, this just came out this month, as you said, it's still in preview, and what I've heard, in various partner calls, this is going to get really rich in terms of configurability. So this is like the first blush, you know.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
It's like a dashboard of dashboards, really.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I just hope they don't name it something crazy. I'm glad that they're
Home,
spending so
yeah.
much time on the user experience. As you said, you know, that whole toolbar on the left, you know, for people who are, now that Power BI is starting to roll out much more in enterprises and people expect things to be easy, I think now that with this homepage, makes people more receptive to the tool.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think they also, I don't know if they've rolled it out yet, but I feel like I saw something about this that you'll be able to put data from 2 different dashboards or something on your home in one thing. So hopefully that will open the door to being able to put, like, you know, different report pages together. Because right now it's kind of hard if you just have everything kind of focused in one report. You know, I feel like it'd be nice if you could just
Different workspaces, stuff from different
yeah,
workspaces.
it'd be a lot
Yeah.
easier to kind of
Yeah.
put everything in one spot.
Put the same, yeah.
So that's at least where I see this potentially going. But maybe that's pie in the sky. I don't know. But yeah,
Does right click do anything on these tiles? Like hide or don't show or?
I don't think so. I think this is kind of just what you get. Yeah, I don't know if it's that configurable yet, unless anyone else has another idea. But I guess there's one more thing too to show here is that the global search thing is awesome. So now you don't have to, whereas before you'd have to, you know, kind of weasel your way around here. Oh man, where is that report again? I don't know. Which workspace, which dashboard, which whatever. Global search, you can just search for whatever you want in here and it'll give you all the different options in a drop down. Looks like you have some Google thing here. Maybe that'll show up. So I can just type in Google, I get access to everything with a little blurb about what it is, whether this is an app or a KPI or something. Yeah, so I feel like, again, to what Greg said, you know, that's going to make it so much easier to find what you're getting, especially as you're expanding out and you have all these different reports. I mean, I imagine some of us probably got hundreds, you know, thousands of reports, dashboards. It's going to be impossible to keep track of all of them just in your head. So that's one way to hopefully do that. And yeah, that just came out, what, last month or something? So yeah, that's going to be pretty sweet. Moving on, the DAX editor improvements.
Yeah.
So at least for me, starting out, my DAX journey, a lot of it is just kind of like a vision quest where I just look up some stuff and try to make sure it works. And at least for me, it was a little frustrating at times, at least on the old editor. Like, it wouldn't always just like pop down. It would just show that one level, right? But now, you know, I can click through. This is just a column I made, super easy, whatever. And then a measure too. And I like how now when you click on something, it just immediately expands the editor as much as you want, so you can actually see everything in there. And again, not a big deal, but if you're doing this, you know, dozens of times a day, you want it to be as seamless and easy as possible to use. Another thing they added too recently, well, I think this is pretty recent too. Maybe this was last month or this month. Yeah, you've got line or row numbers here, some little line indentations. Someone with a better development background could probably tell me what those are actually called. But yeah, much easier to work with, and I think they added some keyboard shortcuts too. I'm not going to pretend like I remember them, but I don't have to because I got them right here. So yeah, like one that was pretty cool is what? Alt Shift? No.
It's not liking that, is it?
Not liking that, but anyways, yeah, they're right here. They're all in the release notes. But yeah, there's some pretty handy ones here. Like you can move the line up and down. Let's see if I can get it to work. Yeah, so you can like switch things around like that super easily from the keyboard instead of, you know, like clicking and dragging it around, which can be a little cumbersome. So those new keyboard shortcuts are pretty nice, and again, it's gonna really pay off if you're using that a lot over time.
Yeah, what was really annoying to me, I could never like select the whole line. It would immediately jump over to the end of it, and like not with the mouse, not with the keyboard, and now they finally fixed it in 20 or the actual version.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm by no means a DAX expert, but I feel like it can definitely be a little intimidating if you're starting out with Power BI. So I feel like making it easier to use too is going to make more people, open to trying it out and working with it.
And the Power Query Editor also got some love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That was welcome.
Yeah, and I wasn't planning to look at that, but yeah, it's we could pull it open real quick and check it out.
I was so excited
Oh,
to see
that's
that.
not going to work. Never mind.
We
Don't
can
have
still
to-
look at the advanced editor and see what they've done.
As far as I know, it's the only place that works, actually.
IntelliSense.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
I think it's still in preview.
You might have to enable it on your
And then you have to
file.
reboot.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've added IntelliSense, so color coding,
Yeah,
it'll
all
bring
that
up a
stuff.
list of all your, functions that you can
Yeah,
call.
definitely go and enable it. It's awesome.
Yes.
I have a question on the data quality thing that's now in there. Have you seen that?
The profiling?
The profiling, yeah. Does that? But it only goes to the first 1,000 rows, right? It won't go any further than that.
I haven't played with that.
I haven't played with it enough yet.
Okay.
But I don't know how that would work because you want to see across the whole database.
Yeah. I think everything's still samples.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, there's no way I was going to cover everything. So yeah, the M editor too is going to be it's going to be super nice going forward. One thing more here, going back to the filter pane. Yeah, so one thing that maybe some of you have experienced too is if you want to filter on stuff where there's a ton of values, say school for all of our punters, right? If you wanted to just drill down to a few schools here, you might go back to your query and filter it down to only a few values, so you wouldn't have to scroll through these millions of things when you're you don't have to scroll through all these and like click on them and then like, oh man, which one did I click on? Then of course you'll find out you actually need all the values, go back, change it, and then you'll kind of be like, oh man, how do I want that, and then say I want that, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot Maryland, gotta add those back. But now with the filter search, don't even need to do that at all. You can just do just start typing in values and it'll auto populate. So yeah, I can add the Beavs, can add Ohio State. Oh, Beavs didn't get added. Yeah, and it'll hold on to the things you search for. So that's so much easier than scrolling through stuff and picking things. And I think this already existed in Excel forever. Right, and that was super easy to filter on tables and all kinds of stuff. So it seemed like a pretty easy thing to add, and it's going to be so much nicer going forward, being able to just search on these filters here, especially when you have to scroll through hundreds of values. One more thing, going to jump back into the DAX world real quick. I think this came out pretty recently. But it was just made by the Italians, like the DAX guide, and it's just like a.
Two of Rachel's on here. Let's do this.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a newer form of documenting the DAX language, and I think the Microsoft one is okay, but some of their documentation just isn't as natural, it seems like. But this one's super nice. It's got everything kind of broken down by different areas. And then it's got them all listed here, so you can just click on one. For example, check out calculate. It gives you some information on what it's compatible with, kind of the format of the formula you have to write, some more technical stuff, this description, I'm not going to try to explain, what it returns, some little notes about it, looks like how it plays nicely with these other functions or something, examples, a whole bunch of other stuff. And then what I like too is they've linked all their related articles to it. So if you, I'd imagine if I was starting to do this, I was kind of getting stuck, I could at least refer to some of these other articles, get all kinds of other examples for how they're using stuff, or where they've used functions.
Can you briefly say a little bit more about who created it? And I'm more interested in, do we have an idea that's going to be kept updated?
Yeah, so I think it's, Marco Russo and Alberto Ferrari, who are like the local, not local, but just resident DAX experts, and they've had this blog for a while, like SQL BI, and written a few books, and I think they do a lot of training too. So
these guys never sleep apparently.
If I can add to that, to answer that too, I think I was in there today for some other reason, and I realized that it was actually hosted on, I think, GitHub, and I could actually edit the document and contribute to it.
Oh, nice.
And if you go down to the bottom, I saw contribute on there, so it's possible they may have kind of open sourced this essentially, so we can all add to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Click on it, see what happens.
Or is it to contribute money?
I guess you need
Donations. It's taking donations.
Dollar a word. But the page I was on was specific to a connector, and it actually, I initially dismissed this because I thought Microsoft's going to do a better job than they would to keep up with them, but it actually was in GitHub, and I could have contributed to that page. I could have changed the whole page, basically. So, sure.
Yeah, and I see they have metadata there about when it was last updated, so that, again, kind of gets towards the, is this a thrown out one-off thing? Or is this something that's going to be kept maintained?
But,
I looked through Microsoft documentation.
Yeah, well, arguably the Italians are the leading authorities on DAX today. I mean, they will go toe to toe with Microsoft and often win, in terms of the right way to think about this or that. They're the ones that we all go to, in terms of the leading authorities. I mean, maybe Jeffrey Wang is the only other guy that maybe is like more knowledgeable, but he doesn't write anything.
His last blog post was, I think, 3 years ago.
There was a list of contributors down at the bottom there. Does that show?
Oh, nice.
Right. Or show contributors.
So yeah, there we go. Yeah. There we go.
Those guys don't sound Italian.
The people that don't sleep, I guess.
And just to compare, it looks like they also linked the Microsoft option.
Just to show you how bad.
I wasn't going to say it, but.
Let me take a picture of that too.
Yeah.
Put like a side by side.
Yeah.
Poor Owen Duncan.
It's a backhand rather than a tip of the hat.
This is how you had to live before, if you want to learn DAX before the DAX guide, yeah, this was it. So, yeah.
It's like linking your previous girlfriends to the current girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like they've got, some other, some examples, related stuff, but yeah. I think this is going to be really cool, and hopefully as I continue my DAX journey, I can rely on this to know exactly what I'm doing a little bit more. So, yeah, this is great. Yeah, we're doing good, I think, on time, almost done here. The last thing I wanted to bring up is just this white paper thing. Has anyone read that or heard about it? Or yeah, good. So, yeah, I think it's just a... Man, I don't know if I even have a link to it here, but I'm sure we can just search it real quick. Yeah, it's just a kind of super comprehensive I don't know if, yeah, I guess it's just a white paper, yeah, of kind of all the different components of Power BI and how they interact, and then thinking about whether you want to use, report server, or embedded, pro, premium. It kind of breaks down all the different kind of flavors of Power BI. And it's pretty, yeah, this just got published in July too, so it was right around the Business Application Summit. Yeah, as you can see just there, looking at the table of contents, it's pretty in-depth. And I really like these visuals here.
So Melissa Coates and Chris Webb, the authors of this, they're both people that are really great to follow as bloggers. They did version 1 of this, contracted by Microsoft to write it, and version 2, as you said, came out in July, which is kind of updated. It's something that they're probably going to have to do like an annual update of, right? It just because it just keeps changing. But,
yeah, I mean, just as we saw this year, I mean, they're going to have to add all those features again next year. So, but But yeah, I really like yeah, the way they break it down here without getting too far into it. Yeah, you know, you just, oh, there we go. Yeah, so you know, you can just kind of see kind of the ecosystem and architecture of different ways it's supposed to go, you know. So you get your data source, desktop, service, you know, app. And then, yeah, they kind of just break down the definitions and terminology here. So it's super easy to understand. So I've been using Power BI for a while, and I'm definitely not a complete expert, but yeah, this is still really helpful just because there's so many terms get thrown out. It's easy to, you know, refer back to this, know
Notice
exactly
this is
what they're talking about.
Page 18 or 13.
Yeah, yeah, super comprehensive.
So does it go out to like SRSS and that in relations to that as well? Can you search for SRSS
I don't
and
know.
find anything?
I haven't finished it, so.
You got it ready? You got a search screen, right?
Yeah. Oh, SSRS?
You mean the new feature?
You know, just see if it, you know, how people pick a part of the world they talk about, and there's stuff outside of that world. I'm just wondering how far out. You know, okay, there's some other stuff in there.
So yeah.
There's, you know, this is related to this and that other way. And that's great, because that's a. How long will SRSS continue to be a parallel brother to whatever's happening today, or a semi-parallel brother?
Well, it's moving into the service too.
It's actually retarded, brother.
Yeah.
We're talking about chronology wise.
The older, less intelligent brother.
Yeah. But yeah, so in addition to just talking about all the different styles, whether it's embedded or pro or premium, they also have, we're just looking at it, but they've got like the different kind of stages of BI and organizations, whether it's like, I think they showed it here as like usage scenarios, yeah, so it's like personal BI, corporate BI, you know, small team collaboration, and they've got these different kind of model diagrams for all those. So I thought this was pretty cool too. If you read it, you can like pretty much instantly tell like, oh, okay, well, we're a mix of personal and whatever, and then I think they give more considerations for what you want to do with each style. So yeah, in conclusion, just wanted to show off some of my favorite features this year, as well as some of these other resources that have been pretty helpful to me, and yeah, hope you learned something, and I definitely learned something too about a lot of these features that I didn't know before, so thank you.
Thanks, Steve.